بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إقرارا به وتوحيدا، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما مزيدا. أما بعد. The previous chapter speaking about the adhan, the virtue of making the adhan, and the virtue and excellence and ruling or of repeating after the mu'adhin, and also how the shaitan runs away when the adhan is made, and the virtues of the shaitan, the virtues of the adhan with regards to keeping shaitan away from you. We explained that in our last class. Here, even though we started the next chapter about raising the hands in the salah, we'll take some fawaid from Nawawi's explanation of Sahih Muslim. He says, rahimahullah, أما فقه الباب ففيه فضيلة الأذان والمؤذن. He says, as far as the fiqh of this chapter, meaning in Sahih Muslim, all of the different narrations that we read, what they mean, what they prove, he says, then this chapter shows two things. He says, فضيلة الأذان والمؤذن, is the excellence of the adhan and the excellence of the one who makes the adhan, is that they are both excellent. To be a mu'adhin, and it's also excellent to hear the adhan, to listen to the adhan, to repeat after the adhan, etc. He then says, وقد جاءت في أحاديث كثيرة في الصحيحين مصرحة بعظم فضله. He says, and there are many ahadith, countless ahadith in Bukhari and Muslim and others that show the excellence of the adhan and the mu'adhin explicitly, not something which is deduced, not something which is perhaps, he says, musarrihatan, clearly, frankly showing you the virtue of the adhan and of the what? Of the mu'adhin. واختلف أصحابنا هل الأفضل للإنسان أن يرصد نفسه للأذان أم للإمامة على أوجه. الصحها الأذان أفضل وهو النص الشافعي رضي الله عنه في وقول أكثر أصحابنا، والثاني الإمامة أفضل وهو النص الشافعي أيضا، والثالث هما سواء، والرابع أن علم من نفسه القيام بحقوق الإمامة وجميع خصالها في أفضل وإلا فالأذان. قال أبو علي الطبري وأبو القاسم بن كج والمسعودي والقاضي حسين من أصحابنا. وأما جمع الرجل الإمامة والأذان فإن جماعة من أصحابنا يستحب أن لا يفعله، وقال بعضهم يكره، وقال محققوهم وأكثرهم أنه لا بأس به، بل يستحب وهذا أصح والله أعلم. He says, what's better, the adhan or the imamship? What's better, to be a mu'adhin or to be an imam? Both of them are excellent, but what is superior? What has more reward in it? Everybody understand this? He says, there are different views with regards to this among the Shafi'i ulama. The ulama of the Shafi'i madhab, they have different views. He says, some of them, they say that the adhan is best. And this is a statement which was actually made by Imam Shafi'i. And others, they say the exact opposite, rather being the Imam is better. And that's also a statement that was made by Imam Shafi'i, i.e. Imam Shafi'i perhaps had different views on the issue, and he was asked, and somebody took from him a thing at a different time. What's better, O Imam, being the Mu'adhin? And then perhaps in another country, 5 years later, 3 years later, they asked him, and he changed, and he said, no, the opposite. Everybody understand this? He says, and others, they say it's best to do both, if you have the stamina and the responsibility to do that, if you can do both of them. And some of them, they say it depends upon what a person has the ability to do. If you can truly fulfill the job of being the imam, being on time, reciting, leading the people, the piety, because it's a difficult task. Everybody understand this? Khairan, inshallah. So therefore, there's nothing wrong with combining both, with that condition is that you can obtain both of them, or you can fulfill the responsibilities of both of them. Khairan, inshallah. So back to chapter 9. باب استحباب رفع اليدين حذو المنكبين مع تكبيرة الإحرام والركوع وفي الرفع من الركوع وأنه لا يفعله إذا رفع من السجود. حديث عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا قام في الصلاة رفع يديه حتى تكون حذو منكبيه، وكان يفعل ذلك حين يكبر للركوع، ويفعل ذلك إذا رفع رأسه من الركوع ويقول سمع الله لمن حمده، ولا يفعل ذلك في السجود. Chapter 9 said, preference of raising both hands up to the shoulders with the takbir at the commencement of as-salah, the prayer, and on bowing, ar-ruku', and also on raising his head after bowing, but not to do so on lifting one's head from prostration. Hadith 217, narrated Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu anhuma. I saw that whenever Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood for as-salah, the prayer, he used to raise both his hands. One may ask the question, what is the purpose of constantly repeating this translation? This is 200 hadith into the book and he keeps saying as-salah, the prayer. Every reader is clearly aware that salah means what? Prayer. Every time you repeat that translation and put it in parentheses, it does nothing but slow down the translation more and make it more choppy and more rigid for the English reader. Everybody understand this? Every single time. It's another speed bump in the road. As-salah is well known. Speaking to non-Muslims is a what? Total different story. A new shahada is a total different story. Anyone who's reading this book, 200 hadiths into the book, is clearly a what? Everybody understand this? Or at least the majority of your audience, without any doubt. The majority of the audience, the reader's audience is going to be what? People of Islam. People of Sunni Islam. So there's no purpose, wallahu alam, of continuously repeating it over and over again. As-salah, the prayer. Everybody understand this? We say it's time to make salah. What time is salah to dhuhr? Rather, there's some people that don't even use the word Arabic and they say namaz. They use a different language because it's automatically what? It's well known. Everybody understand this or not? Khairan inshallah. And we've pointed out this many other times before. It says here, he used to raise both his hands up to the shoulders. And used to do the same on saying the takbir for bowing and raising his head from it. And used to say, Sami Allahu liman hamidah. But he did not do that in prostrations. Hadith 218. حديث مالك بن الحويرث رضي الله عنه عن أبي قلابة أنه رأى مالك بن الحويرث إذا صلى كبر ورفع يديه وإذا أراد أن يركع رفع يديه وإذا رفع رأسه من الركوع رفع يديه وحدث أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صنع هكذا. Narrated Abu Qilabah, I saw Malik bin Huwayrith radiallahu anhu saying takbir and raising both his hands on starting as-salah, the prayer, and raising his hands on bowing and also on raising his head after bowing. Malik bin Huwayrith said, Allah's Messenger ﷺ did the same. Allah's Messenger ﷺ did the same. So this chapter heading, Hadith of Ibn Umar and Hadith of Malik ibn al-Huwayrith all prove one thing, is that it is from the sunnah to raise your hands at these times, during these times in the salah. When you make the initial takbir, Allahu Akbar. How do you raise the hands? This is not mentioned. Do you raise your hands like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like that? It's not mentioned. Al-Muhim, Rafa, raising the hands at the takbiratul ihram, the initial takbirah. When you make your first takbirah of salah, Allahu Akbar. Naam. Then you raise your hands when you do what? Go to ruku'. Allahu Akbar. Everybody understand this? And also raising the hands when you come out of the ruku'. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Whatever is said after that. You're the imam. You're the one behind the imam. You're praying by yourself. Rabbana lakal hamd, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, etc. You raise what? The hands. Tayyib. And it says in the Hadith of Ibn Umar that وَلَا يَفْعَلُ ذَلِكَ فِي السُّجُودِ. He didn't do this when he was coming or going into sujood. A Hadith of Abdullah bin Umar here and a Hadith of Malik ibn al-Huwayrith here, it doesn't necessarily say that he did it when he came out of the first tashahhud, which is mentioned in other narrations. So these narrations mention three places: Takbiratul Ihram, going to ruku', coming out of ruku', and it also negates in sujood, not raising the hands, moving to and from what? Sujood. Everybody understand this or not? So these are two hadiths, both in Sahih Bukhari and in Sahih Muslim, which clearly prove that the Rasul ﷺ did what in Salah? Raised his hands. So whether you're Hanafi, you come from Pakistan, you come from India, you come from Turkey, whatever the case may be, your family, your parents, you were born in the UK, you were born in America, if you read these two narrations and they were clear and simple to you, and you understood basics of hadith, that Bukhari and Muslim, authentic books, it will be your responsibility to do what? To raise your hands. Not necessarily mandatory, but that it's not haram to do it. And it isn't a means of distraction and playing around in your salah. what the forefathers did, what they understood, what was Abu Hanifa's dalil, this and that. I don't know. I'm unsure about that. I never studied that. But I know I read these two basic, clear prophetic narrations that the Prophet ﷺ raised his hands, what? In these places in the salah. Everybody understand this or not? That's the fiqh of these two hadiths. In our past class, we briefly mentioned or shed light very briefly about the long extended controversy regarding Hanafis, regarding Jumhur, the majority, the other ulama. Abu Hanifa, was he an imam? Was he the fourth imam? Was he the first imam? Was he the greatest imam? Or was he totally ignorant and had no benefit? Was he a murtad? Was he an apostate? Or was he a mubtadi'? The people to go far right about Abu Hanifa, and the people to go far left about Abu Hanifa, and a few individuals who are in the middle with regards to Abu Hanifa, and with regards to all of the ulama of past and of present. And we explained this in our lectures on the unity of the Sunnah. The distinguishing feature of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that they are balanced. They don't go extreme in praising anyone, and they don't go extreme in dispraising and disparaging what? Anyone. And the moment you do, something is for sure to go wrong. When you become fanatical and praising someone, and when you become fanatical and dispraising someone, let alone when there's no sincerity, let alone when there's ignorance, when there's blind following. Why are you praising Abu Hanifa? I don't know. Why are you dispraising Abu Hanifa? I don't know. Why are you praising Sheikh Fulan and this? Why is he a mubtadi? I don't know. You're just a follower. If you're a follower, it's not necessarily haram to be a follower all of the time. Sometimes some people are made to be followers. But being a fanatical follower is a problem because you don't have no knowledge. You don't know why you're jumping off of a cliff. Everybody understand this? To be fanatical. I really don't get into those issues. I learned this. I heard this. I'm a simple, basic Muslim. Khalas. I work. I take care of my family. I go home, eat dinner with my wife and kids every day. I don't get into the wars and the beef, this one and that one. I don't know. Ladri. That's what? In certain issues, that's more than sufficient. In certain issues, the Muslim, every Muslim has to know certain things. But we're not talking about tawheed and basics of the deen. We're talking about this one's a mubtadi', he's dal, he's mudil, he's the greatest scholar alive, he's the greatest scholar who died. Those issues. I don't know. But the moment you become fanatical and you start forcing others to take that view and abusing people and criticizing people for not taking the same view, and you don't know, and you're nothing but a muqallid, a blind follower, something is seriously wrong. And that's when we're going to go astray, and that is when our da'wah is no longer the da'wah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Because from the ugliest things to the Salaf al-Salih, and from the things that had the most putrid smell and stench, was taqleed. And this is from the most distinguishing feature of those people who call themselves Salafi today. Not everybody, certain people, is that they live, they eat, they drink, they sleep, taqleed. And they force others to take that taqleed and to be fanatical in that taqleed. That and the actual way of the Salaf is like water and oil. They never ever mix. You never find a Salaf fanatically blindly following men, praising men above their status, putting men beneath their status, forcing and bullying other people to do certain things. You never find that. Everybody understand this? When they made tabdir on somebody, it was with dalil, with hujjah. When they praised someone and respected someone, it was with dalil, it was with hujjah. They weren't just a bunch of followers. Everybody understand this? So taqleed, like Shaykh Hussain Taymiyyah said, he says, ka'akl and mayta. He says like eating carrion. It's like eating a dead animal. It's haram. You have to slaughter the animal. You have to hunt the animal. But if it's a time of necessity and need, then it's permissible to eat the dead animal. It's permissible to eat the flesh of swine if you're about to die. And if that isn't the case, then the dead animal is considered what? No, it's not just haram. It's what? Without a doubt. It's foul. Nobody in their right mind will go near that carcass, that dead animal sitting there. Everybody understand this? But if you're starving, your plane has crashed, you're shipwrecked, you're going to do what? You're going to say Bismillah, you're going to eat it. Everybody understand this? And the same applies to taqleed. Taqleed has a stench. It's not the foundation. Rather, some of the ulama of Islam, they said that taqleed was haram upon everybody. No one was allowed to be a blind follower. And every Muslim has to try his or her best to understand what Allah and His Messenger had intended. Every Muslim, according to his or her intellect. And there are other ulama who said that taqleed is permissible in certain issues. Everybody understand this? What's important is the details with regards to taqleed. But for you to make this a staple part of your da'wah, and it's part of your mission statement, to blindly follow this scholar and this group of scholars, and then you say that you're following the Salaf al-Salih, you must be dreaming. You must be dreaming when you read the statements of the ulama of Hadith and how they lived and how they died and what they lived for and what they died for. and praising people and disparaging people and splitting up and fighting and waging wars because of personalities. What did Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu say? He said what? He said, never follow someone who's alive. Anyone who wishes to take the example of a man, he should do so for someone who's dead. فَإِنَّ الْحَيَّ لَا تُؤْمَنُ عَلَيْهِ الْفِتْنَةِ. Because he who's living is not safe from fitna. And only Allah knows we've seen this. The scholar came to America. He came to the UK. He's the greatest scholar in the dunya. He's this and he's that. Then he's refuted. He differs with another scholar. This happens, so on and so forth. Now he's nothing. Burn his books, burn his tapes, get rid of all the beneficial knowledge. You were so fanatical about him one day, now he's laysa shay'an yuzkar. He's totally unheard of, gone, vanished, voosh. It's extreme. There has to be a balance. And that's why Ibn Mas'ud and others from the Salaf al-Salih, they made this statement. Is that if you have to take someone's statement, who's a person, then it should be someone who's what? Who's died. So another contradiction that we have is, Abu Hanifa is a total mubtadi', dal mudil, he's astray. There's no good in him or his madhab. Or not even that, don't blindly follow Abu Hanifa. It's haram to make taqleed of Abu Hanifa. But it's permissible to make taqleed and to be fanatical about a scholar who's living today. And Abu Hanifa is what? He's dead. Everything that he said or didn't said is gone, it's finished. There is no change. And Abu Hanifa is not going to apostate. I'm going to say this, take this. He's dead, he's gone. The scholar who's alive today may say one thing, and you fanatically follow him, and then tomorrow he does what? Just like that. And how many times have we seen this? He retracts his statement. A person is a mujahid fi sabilillah, and the next day he's worse than the Jews and the Christians. How does that happen? Everybody understand this? And most importantly, how does that leave the layman Muslim? That turbulent roller coaster, following someone fanatically, and then you just leave that person and abandon them what? Fanatically. Then a second, then a third, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. What knowledge can you have? What tarbiyah, what cultivation of your community can you have in America, in which there has been a list of scholars that came and went? Is that possible? Is that possible, Umar? And that's exactly what we've seen and what we've experienced. And the people's knowledge and their tarbiyah is fragmented. A piece here, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. You can't build upon that crazy inconsistency. Everybody understand that? That fanatical inconsistency, it doesn't work like that. One class with teacher, another teacher, a third, a fourth. You can't learn Quran like that, can you, Khalid? You have to stick with what? One teacher. Or at least a couple teachers consistently, steadily. You jump from class to class to class to class fanatically. He's the best Quran teacher in New York City. He's the worst Quran teacher. You can't achieve anything like that. So this applies to Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, and anybody else. Everybody understand this? Balance. And if you hate Abu Hanifa, then let it be because of dalil. If you love Abu Hanifa, let it be because of what? Dalil. Everybody understand this? If you follow him, and if you don't follow him, don't be a fanatical tag-along, a blind follower, and being crazed and in a frenzy. Everybody clear on this or not? Khairan, inshallah. So with regards to this issue that has become such a controversial issue, just like saying Ameen, and many other issues in the Salat with regards to people who are Hanafi and those who aren't, An-Nawawi rahimahullah, he says, أجمعت الأمة على استحباب رفع اليدين عند تكبيرة الإحرام. He says that the ulama of Islam, they have total consensus. Ijma' is that it is permissible to raise the hands. It's lawful, it's recommended, it's preferred to raise the hands at the time of takbirat al-ihram. Everybody, the Hanafis and other than the Hanafis, is that when you make the initial takbir, you should do what? Raise the hands. It's recommended. Istihbab, he says. He then says, وَاخْتَلَفُوا فِي مَا سِوَاهَا. And raising hands in other positions is something in which the ummah, the Muslims, the scholars, they what? They differ. Is it from the sunnah to raise the hands when you go into ruku'? Is it from the sunnah to raise your hands when you come out of ruku'? Is it from the sunnah to raise your hands when you come out of sujood or when you go to sujood? Is it from the sunnah to raise the hands when you come from the second rak'ah, the tashahhud? Everybody understand this? That is where they differ. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, فقال الشافعي وأحمد وجمهور العلماء من الصحابة رضي الله عنهم فمن بعدهم يستحب رفعهما أيضا عند الركوع وعند الرفع منه وهو رواية عن مالك والشافعي قول أول الشافعي كذا خطأ قول أنه أو يستحب رفعه ما في موضع آخر رابع وإذا قام من التشهد الأول وهذا القول هو الصواب. He says, as far as Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmed rahimahullah, and he says in the overwhelming majority of the ulama from the Salaf al-Salih, the Sahaba and those who came after them, their view was it's recommended to raise the hands during these three places. It's recommended to raise the hands what? What are these three places? Takbirat al-Ihram, going to ruku', coming out of ruku'. That's the view of the overwhelming majority of the ulama. He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, and this is also one of the versions of Imam Malik's madhab. He then says, Shafi'i adds a fourth place, and that is to raise the hands when you come from the tashahhud. If you're making dhuhr or asr or maghrib, it's going to be 3 rak'ah or 4. So after the first tashahhud, you stand up. Shafi'i said what? Allahu Akbar. A fourth time. A what? A fourth time. Tayyib. He says, Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, and this view is the correct view. وهو الصواب. This is the correct view. فقد صح فيه حديث ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه كان يفعله رواه البخاري وصح أيضا من حديث أبي حميد الساعدي رواه أبو داود والترمذي بأسانيد صحيحة وقال أبو بكر بن المنذر وأبو علي الطبري من أصحابنا وبعض أهل الحديث يستحب أيضا في السجود. He says this has been proven in the narration of Ibn Umar رضي الله عنهما in Sahih Bukhari. The Prophet ﷺ used to do it. And it's also been proven by the hadith of Abu Humayd as-Sa'idi in the Sunan of Imam Abu Dawud and the Tirmidhi with authentic chains of narrations, all 4 places. He says, Abu Bakr ibn al-Mundhir and Abu Ali al-Tabari from the ulama who came later on, and some of the people of hadith, ashab al-hadith, they says also recommended to do it in sujood. It's also recommended to raise the hands with regards to what? Sujood, sitting down, Allahu Akbar, or coming out of the sujood. Tayyib. He then says, وقال أبو حنيفة وأصحابه وجماعة من أهل الكوفة لا يستحب في غير تكبيرة الإحرام وهو أشهر الروايات عن مالك. He says, Abu Hanifa and his disciples, his students, Abu Yusuf, Muhammad ibn al-Hasan, etc. Abu Hanifa had several top disciples that also contributed to his madhab as well. He said that Abu Hanifa, his disciples, and a large number of Kufi scholars in Iraq, Ahlul Kufa, they said, outside of Takbirat al-Ihram, don't raise the hands. If it's not the initial takbir, you should not raise the hands. That's the Hanafi madhab. After the first takbir, don't what? Do not raise the hands. So if an imam, he prays, Allahu Akbar, Takbirat al-Ihram, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Then he recites Surah Al-Waqi'ah. Then after that, he goes into ruku'. What does he do? Allahu Akbar. Without what? Without raising the hands. Subhana Rabbil Azim, Subhana Rabbil Azim, the supplications. He comes out of ruku'. He says what? Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Without what? Without raising the hands. After he makes the first tashahhud, he comes up. He says Allahu Akbar. He doesn't what? Doesn't raise the hands. If he's in the sujood, he doesn't what? Raise the hands if he's following the madhab of Abu Hanifa and the disciples of Imam Abu Hanifa. Everybody clear on this or not? Before we get into who's right, who's wrong, we have to actually understand what's being said. Also, another very interesting fact is that we clearly read that no, we said yustahab. It's recommended to raise the hands in those other places. And he never ever said that it's what? Fard. So, does it make sense to go to war over something that's recommended or not recommended? He never said fard. He said what? Yustahab. Everybody clear on this or not? Tayyib. Moving forward. He says, and this is also the most popular version of Imam Malik. In other words, Imam Malik had more than one view. Some students asked him and he said, like the rest of the ulama. Other students asked him and he said what? Only in the first takbirah. Everybody understand this? So it's not just specific to what? Abu Hanifa. And that's another mistake that many people they make. They single out the Hanafis and issues. Some issues, they are the only ones, but not in every issue. Oh, that's the Hanafi madhab, it's batil, it's bid'ah. But it's also the view of Imam Malik. Or Imam Ahmed said it once. Now say that Imam Ahmed and his people are mubtadi'. Everybody understand this? It's contradiction. And this comes from ignorance. This comes from fanaticism, and it comes from haste and speaking without knowledge and just being a follower. You hear one thing and you just go crazy without actually reading and studying what the people of knowledge actually what? Said. No, he then says, وأجمعوا على أنه لا يجب شيء من الرفع وحكي عن داود إجابه عند تكبيرة الإحرام وبهذا قال الإمام أبو الحسن أو أحمد بن سيار السياري من أصحابنا أصحاب الوجوه وقد حكيته عنه في شرح المهذب وفي تهذيب اللغات. Listen carefully. Nawawi then says the ulama agree. أجمعوا says there's consensus is that none of these places you have to raise your hands. That it's not mandatory in any of these places. That it's all what? Recommended. That it's all what? Recommended. Everybody understand this? And then he says, however, there's one alim, or two or three, a few ulama, a very, very small minority who say that you have to raise the hands at the initial takbirah. When you say Allahu Akbar the first time, they say what? You must. And that's it. So what we can agree on for sure is that it's not mandatory to raise the hands in the salah besides the what? Initial takbirah. According to who? No. 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 I'm wasting my breath. All of the ulama say that it is not mandatory to do what? To raise the hands where? And most of them say don't have to raise your hands what? Period. Some of them say you have to raise them when? Takbiratul ihram only. Everybody clear on this or not? Once more, the ulama, what do they agree on? A simple way of studying fiqh is to study ijma'. What do they agree on? Is that what? Recommended when? Bismillah. La, they don't agree on that. You don't have to say except. The ulama unanimously agree that it is only recommended to raise your hands going to ruku', coming out of ruku', coming from tashahhud, and perhaps sujood. That's it. They agree on that. Clear on that? Tayyib. And ulama, they differ on what? The initial takbir. Most say you don't have to. And some say what? Takbiratul ihram. Then the other 3 places or 4 places, that is also an issue of what? With regards to what? It being mandatory? No, not being mandatory, but with regards to it being what? Hey, wow, it recommended. The Hanafis, the Malikis, the Shafis, they're not different on it being what? Mandatory or not. They don't say that. But only being what? Recommended. Abu Hanifa, his students, they are saying it is not recommended to raise the hands in those places. It's not from the sunnah. That's their view. Listen carefully. It's a huge difference between the two words. A person, he prays the salah. And he says, I know that it's permissible and recommended to raise it, but I just don't want to raise my hands another time. Or I forgot. Clear on this? And then this one says, you what? No, not don't. There's no issue over don't anymore. You should not raise what? It's not a good thing to do. It's not a what? It's not recommended at all. Everybody understand this? All right, let's start again. Because we definitely confused. Right around Lutfi. Perhaps the brothers who's online paying more attention, inshallah. Or maybe my words are unclear. Inshallah. You get an excuse in the beginning. So, what's the ruling on raising the hands, making takbiratul ihram? Most of the ulama say what? It's obligatory. Most of them say that it's recommended. Most of them say it's what? Recommended. Or let's make it even simpler now. Leave off Dawood, Ali, al-Zahiri, and others. This is Abu Hanifa here and the people of Kufa. And over here is the rest of the ulama. Raising the hands during takbiratul ihram is what? Recommended. According to all of them, recommended. Is what? Clear. Once more, Abu Hanifa here and his people. The rest of the ulama over here. Raising the hands in the other parts of the salah is what? No. Abu Hanifa says it's what? Not recommended. Do not raise the hands in period. Everybody clear on this or not? And the other ulama over here, they're saying that it what? It's obligatory to raise it in the parts, right? No. Recommended. Yes. Only recommended. Clear on this or not? Yes. Everybody clear? And then some ulama, a small minority, they say that it's mandatory when? Only takbirat ihram. That's it. Everybody got this or not? طيب, moving forward. No, he says, وأما صفة الرفع فالمشهور من مذهبنا ومذهب الجماهير أنه يرفع يديه حذو منكبيه بحيث تحاذي أطراف أصابع فروع أذنيه أي أعلى أذنيه وابهاما شحمتي أذنيه وراحتاه منكبيه. فهذا معنى قولهم حذو منكبيه. وبهذا جمع الشافعي رضي الله عنه بين رواية الأحاديث فاستحسن الناس ذلك منه. As far as how to raise the hands, or to what height should the hands be raised? To what height should the hands be raised? He says most of the ulama, they say it should be raised towards the shoulders. And whereas his fingertips are touching what? Furu' udunayhi, near the lobe of the ear. Everybody clear on this or not? Huh? He says, وَإِبْهَامَاهُ شَحْمَتَيْ أُذُنَيْهِ, like this. Alright? Tayyib. So he says here, حَذْوُ مَنْكِبَيْهِ. In other words, before we go this deep, it's not mandatory to raise your hands at this height or this level. But if you're going to do it, what's the best way, or is there more than one way in doing it? In other words, we have to the shoulders, which may be a bit difficult to have your hands what? No doubt about that. Between the shoulders and between the what? Earlobes, or at least between what? Where's what? Everybody understand this? Type, move forward. He says here, وَأَمَّا صِفَةُ الرَّفْعِ فَالْمَشْهُورُ مِنْ مَذْهَبِنَا وَمَذْهَبِ الْجَمَاهِيرِ أَنْ يَرْفَعْ يَدَيْهِ حَذْوَ مَنْكِبَيْهِ. What's meant by حَذْوَ مَنْكِبَيْهِ? He says, بِحَيْثُ تُحَاذِي أَطْرَافْ أَصَابِعِهِ فُرُوعَ أُذُنَيْهِ. The tips of the fingers are where? He says فُرُوع. And then he says here, أَعْلَى أُذُنَيْهِ. He says up here, it's the top of the ears. وَبْهَمَا, the thumb, is touching the actual lobe, but not the fingertips. طيب? خير إن شاء الله. He then says, وَأَمَّا وَقْتُ الرَّفْعِ في رواية الأولى رفع يديه ثم كبر وفي الثانية كبر ثم رفع يديه وفي الثالثة إذا كبر رفع يديه ولأصحابنا فيه أوجه. He says here, when do you raise the hands? Should you raise the hands when you say Allahu Akbar simultaneously? Raise the hands before you say Allahu Akbar? Or say Allahu Akbar and then what? Raise the hands. We know the correct view is that all three are optional. All three are what? Optional. To raise the hands with the takbir, raise the hands before the takbir, Allahu Akbar. And raise the hands after the takbir, Allahu Akbar. Everybody clear on this or not? Once more. Doing in what? Simultaneously. Allahu Akbar. Takbir and rafa. Raising. Raising, then takbir. Takbir, then raising. Everybody clear on this or not? Kullu options. All what? Optional. He then says here, طيب واختلفت عبارات العلماء في الحكمة في رفع اليدين فقال الشافعي رضي الله عنه فعلته إعظاما لله تعالى واتباعا لرسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وقال غيره هو استكانة واستسلام وانقياد وكان الأسير إذا غلب مد يديه علامة علامة للاستسلام وقيل هو إشارة إلى استعظام ما دخل فيه وقيل إشارة إلى طرح أمور الدنيا والإقبال بكليته على الصلاة ومناجاة ربه سبحانه وتعالى كما تضمن ذلك قوله الله أكبر فيطابق فعله قوله وقيل إشارة إلى دخوله في الصلاة وهذا الأخير مختص بالرفع لتكبيرة الإحرام وقيل غير ذلك وفي أكثرها نظر والله أعلم. Now what is the wisdom of raising the hands? What is the wisdom of raising the hands? Shafi'i radiyallahu anhu, no, he says radiyallahu anhu for Shafi'i. He says that the Shafi'i said, I raise my hands on the salah, respecting Allah and following His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And others, they say that raising the hands on the salah is a means of submission. Is a means of submitting, of giving up and quitting. When a captive was taken captive, before he's taken captive, he does what? Huh? Everybody did that quick. New York City. They say, put your hands what, where? Where I can see them. Everybody understand this is general principles. Keep your hands where what? Where I can see them. Tell you right now, even if it's not a war, you're my what? My captive. I got you at gunpoint in a dark alley. You're what? You're my captive. Everybody understand this? Which one you want to keep? Your money or your life? It's just that simple. You do what? Whoa. Fadal. Whatever you want, take it. It's not worth it. Everybody understand this? It's not what? It's not worth it. So therefore, a captive in war, at times of war, he does what? Raise his hands. Wave a white flag. Come out with the hands clearly in the air, showing you I have no weapons. Don't take my life. Everybody understand this or not? They say this is one of the wisdoms of what? Raising the hands in the salah as a means of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Moving forward. And we all know how deep the concept of a captive of war is. And that's what Allah talks about in the Quran. As a non-Muslim once said, speaking on the depth of that issue, he says, a captive of war is someone who attempts to take your life. He attempts to kill you. And when he's incapable of killing you, he begs you not to kill him. Just think about that now. Someone is trying to do what? Take your life. He's no longer able and capable of what? And now he asks you to be humane and merciful to him. Everybody understand this? The human nature is to do what? To reject that. You guys stuttering over this? Someone tries to kill you. You end up disarming him and then say, whoa. Be merciful, be kind, be humane. What was the mercy, humanity, and kindness before what? Without a doubt. And this is why the concept of captives of war crimes is something that's very sensitive. And the rules have to be clearly laid down because it's not that easy and simple. Everybody understand this? Let alone if you have a pathological enemy. Enough of that. Moving forward. He says, another wisdom behind raising the hands is he says, isti'adam. It's to magnify the issue, the thing in which you're in, the salah, which you just entered. Allahu Akbar. Is that the prayer is now what? Serious. And it's not a small thing, it's not a game, and it's not a what? It's not a joke. Moving forward. Others, they say that is a sign of abandoning the dunya, throwing away the worldly life, and doing without the material things. And a person focusing upon the salah and speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Supplicating Allah. Everybody understand this? And this is also in unison with what? The statement of what? Allahu Akbar. When you make takbir, you do what? You say what? Allahu Akbar. So throwing away the dunya, getting rid of the worldly life, is now hand in hand with the statement of what? That you're saying it and you're actually doing something physical to represent it and be symbolic to that. Allah is greater than money, than power, than women, than my kids, than this, than that. Allah is what? Greater. Everybody clear on this or not? And there are other things that the ulama of Islam say with regards to the wisdoms behind raising the hands. At the end of the day, what the Shafi'i said is the asl. We raise our hands because the Prophet ﷺ did it. And he instructed us to pray like him. Naam. From the wisdoms, this, that, perhaps, labats. But the asl is that we do it because of Muhammad ﷺ. And Allah knows best. There doesn't seem to be any contradiction between those wisdoms and the very first interpretation. Especially the example of the what? The captive. Everybody understand it's the stick up. Tayyib. Put your hands up as a means of total what? Submission. Allah Azza wa Jalla surely knows best. We ask him for true guidance. Wallahu alam.